There is a vault in your mind. A vault filled with everything you were taught about money. Your parents whispered it. Society screamed it. Save every coin. Hold every dollar. Never let go of what you have earned. And yet, here you are. Still searching. Still hungry. Still wondering why wealth has not arrived at your door despite your discipline. What if I told you that vault is your prison? What if the very act of clutching your coins is the reason they refuse to multiply? What if the path to riches was never paved with restraint but with a kind of spending so strategic, so calculated, that most people will never understand it? Tonight, we unseal the doctrine that separates the perpetually broke from the eternally wealthy. Machiavelli knew this secret 500 years ago. The elites still use it today. And by the end of this video, you will understand why every dollar you refuse to release is a soldier you refuse to send into battle. Now, before we dive deeper into this journey, I need your help. My ex-girlfriend said I am a failure and can never be successful speaking the truth on YouTube about how the world operates. She said nobody will subscribe to a failure's channel. Please subscribe now. Let's prove her wrong. It will be a shame if what she said happens. Please help this young man gain his confidence back. And please tell me where you are watching from right now. Drop your location in the comments because I would love to know where my amazing viewers are tuning in from and to prove to her that people around the world now watch my channel. Here is what most people get catastrophically wrong. They believe wealth is created through accumulation. They think the rich became rich by hoarding, by pinching pennies, by saying no to every expense. But observe the truly wealthy. Watch how they move. They spend constantly. They invest relentlessly. They release money like a general releases arrows, not randomly, but with precision and purpose. The poor save out of fear. The rich spend out of vision. One is defensive. The other is offensive. And in the game of wealth, defense alone never wins the war. Machiavelli wrote about princes and kingdoms, but his words translate perfectly into the realm of personal finance. He understood that a ruler who hoards resources loses the loyalty of his people. A ruler who spends strategically gains allies, influence, and eventually, more resources than he started with. This is not about reckless spending. This is about weaponized generosity. This is about understanding that money is not a destination but a vehicle. And a vehicle that never moves will rust in the garage while the world races past. Think about this carefully. Why do the wealthy invest in education? Why do they pay for coaches, mentors, and masterminds? Why do they spend thousands on experiences that seem unnecessary to the average person? Because they understand something profound. Money spent on growth returns as capability. Capability returns as opportunity. Opportunity returns as wealth. The cycle is unbreakable, but only if you are brave enough to begin it. The person who refuses to spend remains stagnant. The person who spends strategically becomes unstoppable. Let me tell you about a man named Lorenzo. Not Lorenzo de' Medici, though the principles overlap. This Lorenzo was a merchant in a small Italian town during the Renaissance. He had saved for 20 years. His vault was impressive. His reputation was that of a careful, prudent man. But his business never grew. His influence never expanded. He watched as younger merchants, men with far less savings, rose above him. How? They spent. They invested in ships that could fail. They paid for connections that seemed expensive. They hired talent that cost more than seemed reasonable. And within a decade, they controlled trade routes that Lorenzo could only dream of. Lorenzo died with his vault intact. His legacy died with him. The spenders built dynasties. Their names echo through history. But wait, does this mean you should spend recklessly? Does this mean you should empty your accounts on every whim? Absolutely not. And this is where most people misunderstand the principle. They hear spend money to get rich and they buy luxury items. They purchase status symbols. They acquire things that depreciate the moment they are owned. This is not Machiavellian spending. This is foolish bleeding. True strategic spending has 3 characteristics. First, it must return more than it costs. Second, it must position you for future gains. Third, it must build your power, influence, or capability. If a purchase does not meet at least one of these criteria, it is not an investment. It is an indulgence. Consider this question carefully. What is the difference between a person who spends $5,000 on a handbag and a person who spends $5,000 on a skill that triples their income? Both spent the same amount. Both made a choice. But one will remain exactly where they are. The other will ascend. This is the Machiavellian distinction. The prince does not spend to appear wealthy. The prince spends to become powerful. Appearance fades. Power compounds. Now here is a principle that will disturb some of you. Machiavelli taught that generosity, when performed correctly, is one of the most potent weapons in a leader's arsenal. But he also warned that generosity performed incorrectly leads to ruin. What does this mean for your money? It means that spending on others, when done strategically, creates bonds of loyalty that money cannot buy directly. When you invest in people who can help you rise, you are not losing money. You are planting seeds in fertile ground. When you pay for a dinner that creates a crucial connection, you are not wasting funds. You are building an empire, one relationship at a time. I want you to comment right now with the word invest if you are starting to see money differently. If you are beginning to understand that wealth is not about what you keep but about what you deploy. Drop that word in the comments and let me know this message is reaching you. The ancient Romans understood this. When a general wanted to ensure the loyalty of his troops, he did not hoard the spoils of war. He distributed them. He spent lavishly on his soldiers. And in return, those soldiers would march through fire for him. They would conquer nations in his name. The cost of the distribution was nothing compared to the value of the loyalty it created. This is the return on investment that no spreadsheet can calculate. This is the invisible profit that separates the wealthy from the merely rich. But here is the trap. Most people spend on the wrong things and wonder why they remain poor. They spend on comfort instead of capability. They spend on entertainment instead of education. They spend on impressing strangers instead of building empires. Machiavelli would look at modern consumer culture and see a population bleeding itself dry while believing it is living well. The television you bought on credit did not make you wealthy. The subscription services draining your account each month are not investments. The designer clothes hanging in your closet are not building your future. These are the expenditures of the masses. And the masses, by definition, are not wealthy. So what should you spend on? Let me give you the categories that the truly wealthy prioritize. First, spend on knowledge. Every book, course, seminar, or mentorship that expands your understanding of how money works is an investment in your earning capacity. The person who knows more earns more. This is not theory. This is observable reality. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. He did not become a billionaire by saving his money in a mattress. He became a billionaire by investing in his own mind first. Second, spend on access. The right connection is worth more than years of effort. The right introduction can change your trajectory overnight. This is why the wealthy pay for memberships, conferences, and exclusive gatherings. They are not paying for the event. They are paying for the room. They are paying for proximity to power. They are paying for the chance to meet the person who will open a door they could never open alone. Third, spend on leverage. This means spending on things that multiply your output. Hiring an assistant who frees you to focus on high-value tasks. Purchasing software that automates repetitive work. Investing in equipment that increases your productivity. Every dollar spent on leverage returns in time and capability. And time, as you will learn, is the only truly non-renewable resource. Fourth, spend on positioning. This is where most people completely miss the game. Positioning means spending to place yourself in environments where wealth flows naturally. It means living in a location where opportunity is abundant, even if it costs more. It means dressing appropriately for the rooms you want to enter, even if it stretches your budget temporarily. It means investing in a presence that commands respect. Not for vanity, but for power. The person who looks like they belong will be treated as though they belong. And those who are treated as though they belong gain access that others never will. Now I must warn you about something. Everything I am teaching you can be corrupted. It can be twisted into justification for irresponsible behavior. The weak-minded person will hear this doctrine and use it to excuse their shopping addiction. They will say, I am investing in myself while buying another pair of shoes. They will claim this is strategic spending while drowning in credit card debt. Do not be this person. The Machiavellian approach requires absolute honesty with yourself. Every expenditure must be examined. Every purchase must be justified not by emotion but by potential return. If you cannot articulate how a spending decision will increase your power or wealth, you should not make it. Discipline is not the enemy of strategic spending. Discipline is its foundation. Let me tell you about the trap of false frugality. There are people who refuse to invest in a course that could teach them a valuable skill because it costs $500. Yet they will work for 50 years at a job that underpays them by thousands each month. They saved $500 but lost millions in unrealized potential. They refused to spend on education but paid the tax of ignorance for their entire lives. This is not wisdom. This is blindness disguised as caution. The truly frugal person is not the one who spends nothing. The truly frugal person is the one who spends only on what provides maximum return. Sometimes that means spending significantly. And the person too afraid to do so remains trapped in mediocrity. If this is making sense to you, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is for people who want to understand the hidden mechanics of power and wealth. Every video we release reveals principles that most people will live their entire lives without learning. Subscribe now and join a community that thinks differently. Let my ex-girlfriend see those numbers climb. Let her know she was wrong about us. Now let us discuss the psychology of spending. Why is it so difficult for some people to invest in themselves? Why do they clutch their money even when releasing it would multiply it? The answer lies in scarcity programming. Most people were raised with fear-based beliefs about money. They were taught that money is hard to get and easy to lose. They were told that spending is dangerous and saving is virtuous. These beliefs served a purpose in previous generations when economic conditions were different. But in today's world, these same beliefs become chains that bind you to poverty. The wealthy operate from an abundance mindset. They believe that money spent wisely returns multiplied. They see opportunities where others see expenses. They feel excitement where others feel fear. This psychological difference creates a completely different relationship with money. The abundance-minded person invests in a business opportunity. The scarcity-minded person talks themselves out of it. Years later, one is wealthy and the other is still working the same job, still complaining about the economy, still wondering why nothing ever changes. Here is a question I want you to consider. What have you refused to spend on that might have changed your life? What investment did you talk yourself out of because it felt too risky? What course did you not take? What mentor did you not hire? What opportunity did you let pass because you were too afraid to release the funds it required? Be honest with yourself. And in that honesty, recognize the cost of your caution. The money you saved is still sitting there. But the life you could have built is gone forever. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors the bold. He compared fortune to a river that floods and destroys when you are unprepared, but can be channeled and directed when you build the proper defenses and channels in advance. Money works the same way. Those who act boldly, who invest in the infrastructure of their success before they need it, find that wealth flows to them naturally. Those who wait, who hesitate, who refuse to spend until they are certain, find that opportunity has moved on to someone more decisive. Let me give you a modern example. Consider two young people starting their careers. Both earn the same salary. Both have the same expenses. But one decides to invest 15% of their income into building skills, making connections, and exploring opportunities. The other saves that 15% in a standard savings account, earning minimal interest. After 10 years, who is wealthier? The saver has more in their account, yes. But the investor has tripled their income through the capabilities they developed. They have a network worth more than any savings account. They have options the saver cannot imagine. The saver worked hard. The investor worked smart. And smart, in this context, meant understanding that money must move to grow. There is an ancient principle that the Medici family understood better than anyone. They called it the economy of favors. They spent lavishly on artists, scholars, and public works. This spending seemed purely charitable. It seemed like a drain on their resources. But it was actually an investment of extraordinary genius. By funding Michelangelo and Leonardo, they bought immortality. By building churches and hospitals, they bought the love of the people. By supporting scholars, they bought influence over ideas. Their spending created a web of obligation and admiration that protected their power for generations. Every dollar they gave away came back multiplied in loyalty, prestige, and ultimately, more wealth. How can you apply this in your own life? When you help someone who is rising, you create an ally. When you invest in someone's dream, you buy a share of their future success. When you spend on causes that matter, you build a reputation that opens doors money alone cannot unlock. This is not about being generous for generosity's sake. This is about understanding that strategic giving is one of the highest forms of spending. The return on investment just looks different than a stock dividend. Comment below with one investment you have made in yourself that paid off. I want to hear your stories. What did you spend on that seemed scary at the time but ended up being worth it? Let us build a community that shares these victories and learns from each other. Now we must address the dark side of this principle. There are those who will use spending as manipulation. They will give gifts with invisible strings attached. They will invest in people only to own them later. They will spend lavishly in public and extract quietly in private. Machiavelli acknowledged this reality. He understood that all human behavior exists on a spectrum from virtue to vice. The spending principles we discussed today can be used for genuine growth or for calculated exploitation. This video is for those who want to build real wealth and real power through ethical means. But you must be aware that others will use these same principles against you. When someone spends on you unexpectedly, ask yourself what they want. When an opportunity seems too generous, examine the true cost. When a gift arrives without occasion, consider what obligation comes attached. The world is full of those who use money to create debt, not gratitude. They spend to trap, not to help. Recognizing this pattern protects you from becoming a pawn in someone else's game. Let us talk about the spending hierarchy that the wealthy follow religiously. At the bottom of the pyramid are consumption expenses. These are purchases that provide immediate pleasure but no lasting value. Food, entertainment, disposable goods. These are necessary to some degree, but they should be minimized. Every dollar spent here is a dollar that cannot work for you. Above that are maintenance expenses. These are costs that keep your current life functioning. Rent, utilities, basic clothing, transportation. These are unavoidable, but they should be optimized. The wealthy do not waste money on maintenance expenses when cheaper alternatives provide the same result. Higher still are growth expenses. These are investments in your capability, knowledge, and capacity. Education, health, skills, tools. Every dollar spent here has the potential to return multiplied. This is where the middle class fails. They minimize growth expenses while maximizing consumption. The wealthy do the opposite. At the top of the pyramid are leverage expenses. These are expenditures that multiply your efforts dramatically. Hiring people, buying systems, acquiring assets that work for you. This is where wealth accelerates. The person who spends at this level is no longer trading time for money. They are building machines that generate wealth while they sleep. I want you to honestly assess where your spending falls on this pyramid. If you are spending more on consumption than on growth, you are programming yourself for stagnation. If you have never spent at the leverage level, you have not yet begun to play the real game of wealth. This assessment is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken you. Because awareness is the first step toward change. There is a concept that the wealthy understand intuitively but rarely express openly. It is called spending capacity. Your spending capacity is not how much money you have. It is how much money you can spend productively. Someone with $1 million but no understanding of investment has low spending capacity. Someone with $10,000 and deep knowledge of where to deploy it has high spending capacity. The first person will likely lose their million through poor decisions. The second person will likely multiply their 10,000 into much more. This is why sudden lottery winners so often end up broke. They have money but no spending capacity. They do not know how to invest. They do not know how to leverage. They only know how to consume. And consumption without production leads inevitably to zero. Conversely, this is why certain entrepreneurs who lose everything manage to rebuild quickly. They have developed spending capacity. They know where to put money to make it grow. Give them a stake and they will turn it into a fortune. Because the capacity exists independent of the current balance. How do you build spending capacity? Through education, first. Learn how money actually works. Study investments. Understand business. Read biographies of the wealthy. Second, through experience. Start small. Invest amounts you can afford to lose. Learn what works and what does not through actual results. Third, through mentorship. Find people who have already developed high spending capacity and learn from their decisions. Their experience can shortcut years of your own learning. If you are still watching, you are different from most people. Most clicked away when I started talking about real principles instead of surface-level motivation. But you stayed. You want to understand what actually works. And for that, I respect you. Now I need you to do something that will help both of us. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. And turn on notifications so you do not miss the videos that could change your financial future. Let us grow this community together. Now let us discuss the timing of spending. This is something almost nobody talks about. When you spend is often as important as what you spend on. There are moments in life when a small expenditure produces massive results. And there are moments when even large expenditures produce nothing. The Machiavellian investor learns to recognize these windows of opportunity. When a market is down, the fearful stop spending and wait for safety. The wise spend more because prices are low and potential returns are high. When everyone else is buying, they sell. When everyone else is selling, they buy. This counterintuitive approach requires emotional discipline. It requires the ability to move when others are frozen. It requires trust in your own analysis over the panic of the crowd. The same principle applies to personal development. There are seasons in your life when you should invest heavily in growth. Perhaps you are young and have time to recover from mistakes. Perhaps you have just received a windfall and can afford to take calculated risks. Perhaps an opportunity has appeared that will not wait. Recognizing these seasons and spending accordingly is a skill that separates the strategically wealthy from the accidentally comfortable. Conversely, there are times when conservation is appropriate. When you lack the knowledge to invest wisely, when the market is overheated, when your personal situation requires stability. Spending in these seasons is often wasteful. The wise person recognizes when to attack and when to defend. They do not apply the same strategy to every situation. They adapt. Here is a principle that might disturb you. The wealthy often spend money they do not have. Not recklessly. Not on consumption. But on investments they believe will return more than the cost of borrowing. This is leverage in its purest form. When you can borrow at 5% and invest at 15%, you are being paid to spend. When you can use other people's money to acquire assets that appreciate, you are building wealth without using your own capital. This principle is dangerous in untrained hands. Credit card debt that finances consumption is a path to ruin. Loans for lifestyle are chains that bind you to labor. But debt that finances productive assets is a tool of the wealthy. Real estate investors understand this. Business owners understand this. The person who is afraid of all debt remains limited to their own earning capacity forever. But here is the critical distinction. You must never borrow to consume. You may borrow to produce. The coffee you buy on credit is a waste. The course you buy on credit that teaches you to earn more might be justified. The car you lease for status is a drain. The equipment you finance for your business that generates revenue might be wise. This distinction is everything. Confuse them and you destroy yourself. Understand them and you unlock potential others cannot access. Let me tell you about a principle Machiavelli observed in the princes of his time. He noticed that those who tried to save their way to security often ended up weaker than those who spent to build strength. A prince who refused to pay for a proper army to save money would eventually be conquered by a prince who invested in military power. The savings became worthless when the kingdom fell. The spending created the security that made future prosperity possible. Apply this to your own life. Are you skimping on things that protect your future? Are you refusing to invest in healthcare that could prevent catastrophic expenses later? Are you avoiding insurance that could save you from ruin? Are you declining to build skills that make you irreplaceable in the market? These forms of saving are actually forms of gambling. You are betting that nothing will go wrong. And the universe does not respect such bets. Comment below with one area where you have been too cautious with spending. One place where you know you should invest but have been afraid to. Share it with the community. Sometimes naming our fears is the first step to overcoming them. Now let us explore the concept of spending as signaling. Every expenditure communicates something to the world. The way you spend reveals your priorities, your intelligence, and your potential. Wealthy people recognize this and spend in ways that signal competence and ambition. The person who invests in their appearance for important meetings is not being vain. They are understanding that humans make judgments based on visual cues. They are spending on credibility. The person who takes a potential client to a quality restaurant is not wasting money. They are signaling that they value the relationship and can afford to invest in it. The person who maintains a professional website and quality business cards is not obsessing over details. They are understanding that perception shapes opportunity. These expenditures are not about impressing others for ego. They are about removing barriers to success. But here is where discernment matters. Spending to signal must be targeted and authentic. The person who buys luxury items to appear wealthy while drowning in debt is signaling something they are not. Eventually, this discrepancy will be discovered, and their credibility will be destroyed. Signal only what is true. Spend on appearances only to the extent that they reflect your genuine capability and trajectory. Anything more is a house built on sand. There is a hierarchy of people in terms of their relationship with money. At the lowest level are those who serve money. They work desperately, spend emotionally, and have no control over their financial lives. Money controls them completely. Above them are those who manage money. They budget, save, and make responsible decisions. They have some control but remain limited by their own earning capacity. Higher still are those who multiply money. They understand investment, leverage, and strategic spending. Money works for them rather than the reverse. At the highest level are those who transcend money. They have accumulated so much that money is merely a tool, not a concern. They can focus on legacy, impact, and meaning because the money question is solved. Where are you in this hierarchy? And more importantly, how do you ascend? The answer is that each level requires a different relationship with spending. Moving from servant to manager requires discipline. Moving from manager to multiplier requires education and courage. Moving from multiplier to transcendent requires patience and wisdom. At each level, how you spend must evolve. Let me share with you what I call the investment mindset test. Before any significant purchase, ask yourself 5 questions. First, what does this purchase cost in real terms? Not just the price, but the opportunity cost. What else could this money do? Second, what will this purchase be worth in 5 years? Will it appreciate, depreciate, or disappear entirely? Third, how will this purchase change my capacity to earn or grow? Does it make me more capable or just more comfortable? Fourth, am I making this decision from abundance or from fear? Am I spending to create opportunity or to avoid discomfort? Fifth, would someone I admire for their financial wisdom make this purchase? If you can answer these questions honestly, you will make better spending decisions than 90% of the population. Here is a truth that few are willing to accept. Your financial future is largely determined by the decisions you have already made. But it is not determined entirely. Every day brings new opportunities to spend differently, to invest wisely, to redirect your resources toward growth. The person who wasted money yesterday is not condemned to waste it tomorrow. But change requires conscious decision. It requires overriding the programming that led to past mistakes. It requires a new relationship with spending itself. I want to tell you about the concept of investment layering. The wealthy do not make isolated investments. They build layers of investments that support and amplify each other. They invest in education that leads to better opportunities. They invest the increased income from those opportunities into assets. They invest the returns from those assets into leverage. Each layer builds upon the last, creating a compounding effect that accelerates over time. The middle class makes isolated purchases that lead nowhere. They buy a course but never apply it. They invest in a stock but never learn why it moves. They spend on a tool but never develop proficiency. There is no layering, no compounding, no momentum. Each expenditure exists in isolation and produces isolated results. The difference is not in the amount spent, but in the intentionality behind the spending. Now subscribe if you have not already, because the next section of this video contains principles I rarely share publicly. We are going to discuss the advanced strategies that separate the moderately successful from the extraordinarily wealthy. You do not want to miss what comes next. Let us discuss the Machiavellian approach to calculated risk. Every spending decision involves risk. The course might not teach you anything useful. The investment might lose value. The connection might not pan out. But here is what Machiavelli understood. The greatest risk is taking no risk at all. The prince who refused to take any chances would find his kingdom slowly weakening while bolder rulers expanded around him. His caution became his defeat. Apply this to spending. If you never invest because you fear loss, you guarantee stagnation. If you never spend on growth because you might waste the money, you ensure that you never grow. The key is not to eliminate risk, but to manage it intelligently. Spread your investments across different areas. Never bet everything on one opportunity. Accept that some expenditures will not return their value. But ensure that your winning decisions more than compensate for your losing ones. The wealthy understand probability in ways the poor do not. They know that if they make 10 calculated investments and 7 fail, the 3 that succeed will more than cover the losses. They do not need every spending decision to be correct. They need the overall portfolio of decisions to generate positive returns. This shift in perspective is revolutionary. It frees you from the paralysis of perfectionism. It allows you to act even in uncertainty. Here is a principle that will serve you for the rest of your life. Spend on what you understand. Never invest in something you cannot explain simply. Never pay for an opportunity you do not comprehend. The wealthy stay within their circle of competence. They spend where their knowledge gives them an edge. They avoid areas where they would be gambling rather than investing. This means that before you can spend wisely in a new area, you must invest in understanding that area first. Want to invest in real estate? First spend on education about real estate. Want to start a business? First spend on understanding that industry. Want to trade stocks? First spend years learning how markets actually work. The spending on knowledge always precedes the spending on opportunity. Violate this order and you become prey for those who do understand. Now let me tell you something that will change how you view every wealthy person you encounter. Behind every fortune is a trail of strategic spending that the public never sees. The billionaire did not become wealthy by hoarding. They spent on mentors when they were young. They spent on businesses that failed before finding the one that succeeded. They spent on relationships that seemed to provide no immediate return. They spent on personal development that made them capable of handling success. By the time they appear wealthy to the world, they have already spent fortunes creating the capability for wealth. This invisible spending is why copying the visible behavior of the wealthy does not work. People see the wealthy person saving and think that saving creates wealth. But they do not see the decades of strategic spending that created the surplus now being saved. They see the wealthy person living simply and think simplicity creates wealth. But they do not see the expensive education, coaching, and experiences that created the wisdom now expressing as simplicity. The surface is misleading. The depths tell the true story. Let me introduce you to the concept of temporal spending strategy. This means understanding that different types of spending are appropriate at different stages of life and business. In the early stages, spend aggressively on learning and capability building. Your human capital is your greatest asset, and investment in it yields the highest returns when you have decades to benefit. In the middle stages, shift spending toward leverage and systems. You have capability now. The question is how to multiply it. Spend on people, technology, and structures that amplify your impact. This is where hiring help, building teams, and automating processes become critical investments. In the later stages, shift spending toward preservation and legacy. You have accumulated resources. Now the question is how to protect and transmit them. Spend on legal structures, estate planning, and philanthropic vehicles that extend your impact beyond your lifetime. Most people never adjust their spending strategy. They remain stuck in one mode regardless of their stage. They try to preserve wealth before they have created it. Or they continue spending on basic education when they should be investing in leverage. Recognizing what stage you are in and spending appropriately is a hallmark of financial wisdom. Here is a question I want you to reflect on. What would you spend on if you were absolutely certain it would return 10 times its cost? What education would you purchase? What connection would you pursue? What opportunity would you seize? Now here is the deeper question. What is stopping you from making that spending decision right now? Is it genuine uncertainty about the return? Or is it fear masquerading as prudence? The difference between the wealthy and the struggling is often not intelligence or opportunity. It is willingness to act on reasonable probability. The wealthy person who is 80% confident makes the investment. The struggling person who is 80% confident waits for certainty that never comes. That 20% of doubt becomes the prison they never escape. Comment below with one spending decision you have been delaying because of fear. Share it with the community. Let us support each other in moving past the paralysis that keeps so many people stuck. Now we arrive at one of the most counterintuitive principles of wealth. Sometimes you must spend to discover what not to spend on. The wealthy are not wealthy because they make perfect decisions. They are wealthy because they make decisions, learn from outcomes, and adjust rapidly. Every failed investment teaches something. Every misguided purchase provides data. Every waste clarifies priorities. The person who never spends never learns what works for them specifically. They remain trapped in theory while the doers accumulate practical wisdom. This is not a justification for reckless spending. It is a recognition that calculated experimentation is part of the wealth-building process. Budget for learning. Accept that some of your spending will be tuition paid to the University of Experience. Let me describe what I call the spending audit that millionaires perform regularly. They review every significant expenditure from the past year. They categorize each as consumption, maintenance, growth, or leverage. They calculate the return on each investment where possible. They identify patterns in their decisions that led to positive or negative outcomes. They adjust future spending based on these insights. Do you perform this audit? Have you ever? Most people have no idea where their money actually goes. They feel the strain but cannot diagnose the cause. They spend blindly and hope for the best. The wealthy are clinical about their spending. They track, analyze, and optimize continuously. This discipline is not exciting, but it is essential. Here is a profound truth that connects everything we have discussed. Money is simply stored energy. When you earn money, you convert your time and effort into a portable form. When you spend money, you convert that stored energy back into action in the world. The question is whether the action you purchase moves you toward your goals or away from them. Every dollar is a decision. Every purchase is a direction. Spend unconsciously and you wander aimlessly. Spend intentionally and you march toward your destination. The wealthy have developed what I call spending consciousness. They are aware of every transaction as a choice. They feel the weight of each decision, not in a way that creates anxiety, but in a way that creates intentionality. They do not spend mindlessly because they understand that mindless spending produces mindless results. This consciousness is a skill that can be developed. Start by reviewing every purchase at the end of each day. Ask if it moved you forward or held you back. Over time, this awareness becomes automatic. Now let me address something that holds many people back from strategic spending. It is the comparison trap. They see others spending on consumption and feel they should do the same to keep up. They match the lifestyle of their peers without matching the income or wealth of their peers. They spend to appear equal while ensuring they never surpass. The Machiavellian mindset rejects this entirely. Let others spend on appearances while you spend on assets. Let others buy status symbols while you buy income streams. Let others impress the crowd while you build the machine. In 5 years, they will still be performing. You will be arriving. The ability to ignore social pressure and spend according to your strategy is one of the most powerful advantages you can develop. I want you to internalize this deeply. You are not in competition with the spending habits of others. You are in competition with your own potential. Every dollar you waste on keeping up with appearances is a dollar stolen from your future self. Every investment you make in capability is a gift to the person you are becoming. Choose wisely whose interest you serve with your spending decisions. Subscribe now because we are approaching the final section of this video, and it contains the synthesis of everything we have discussed. If you have made it this far, you are serious about transforming your relationship with money. The next few minutes will give you the framework to make it permanent. Let me tell you about the ultimate spending decision. At some point in your journey, you will face a choice that feels terrifying. An investment that could change everything but requires you to release resources that feel essential. A leap that logic supports but emotion resists. This is the moment that separates those who achieve extraordinary wealth from those who remain comfortably average. Machiavelli wrote about the decisive moment when action was required despite uncertainty. He observed that those who hesitated often lost everything they were trying to protect. The cautious prince who refused to commit his forces when the moment was right found himself slowly overwhelmed by enemies who acted boldly. The treasury he was protecting became the prize of those willing to risk their treasuries for victory. You will face this moment. Perhaps you have already faced it and turned away. Perhaps it is approaching now. The question is whether you will be ready, whether you will have developed the understanding and courage to recognize opportunity and commit to it. Everything we have discussed prepares you for that moment. The knowledge is armament. The principles are strategy. But ultimately, you must be the one who acts. Let me give you the final framework. It is called the wealth spending protocol. Before any significant financial decision, move through these steps. First, calculate the true cost, including opportunity cost. Second, estimate the realistic return under various scenarios. Third, determine if the investment aligns with your current stage and strategy. Fourth, assess whether you have the knowledge to evaluate this opportunity properly. Fifth, decide if you are acting from vision or reacting from emotion. Sixth, commit fully once the decision is made, without second-guessing. This protocol will not make every decision perfect. Nothing can. But it will make your decisions conscious, strategic, and aligned with your goals. Over time, the quality of your spending decisions will compound into a quality of life most people never experience. Here is the final truth I want to leave you with. The money you have today is not your wealth. It is your potential wealth. It becomes actual wealth only when deployed in ways that generate return. The person who dies with a full bank account but no impact, no legacy, and no growth has not achieved wealth. They have achieved hoarding. And hoarding is just fear wearing the mask of prudence. Spend to learn. Spend to grow. Spend to connect. Spend to leverage. Spend to build what cannot be taken away. This is the Machiavellian path to riches. Not the timid accumulation of coins, but the bold deployment of resources in pursuit of power and prosperity. The difference between where you are and where you could be is measured in spending decisions. Every day you make choices. Every choice compounds. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose with the understanding that money unused is potential wasted. If this video has changed how you think about spending and wealth, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment below with your biggest insight from today. Tell me how you plan to apply these principles. Let us build a community of people who understand what the masses never will. Remember, Machiavelli whispered these truths to princes 5 centuries ago. The principles have not changed. Only the context has evolved. You now have access to wisdom that was once reserved for rulers of kingdoms. Use it. Apply it. Transform your relationship with money from one of fear to one of power. The vault in your mind is open now. The old beliefs are exposed as limitations. What you do next is your choice. But know this: the wealthy are not waiting. They are spending. They are investing. They are building. Every moment you hesitate, they advance. Every dollar you hoard out of fear, they deploy out of vision. The question is not whether you can afford to spend strategically. The question is whether you can afford not to. And the answer, if you have been honest throughout this video, is painfully clear. Go now. Audit your spending. Identify your next strategic investment. Take action before the lesson fades and old habits return. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. And remember, I will see you in the next video. But only if you subscribe. Do not let this be the last time we meet. There are more secrets to uncover. More principles to master. More wisdom to share. Subscribe now and continue this journey with me. Drop a comment telling me what you will invest in this week. What strategic spending decision will you make? Let us hold each other accountable. Let us prove that this community takes action, not just consumption. Your comment is your commitment. Make it now. The path to wealth is paved with strategic spending. You now have the map. Walk it boldly. I will be here, sharing more secrets of power and prosperity, waiting to see how high you rise. Until next time, stay strategic, stay bold, stay Machiavellian.